Good morning. Is there anybody out there? Right, just get myself sorted out. Have a cup of coffee. Yawn. Hi, it's Pete. Hi, Pete. Yeah, I'm good. Waking up. Oh, there's Danny. Wakey, wakey. That's right. All right. Better get that video sent in a minute. I'll do that after the call. Oh, God, what was that? Hi, Graham. Hi, Chris. How's it going? So the plan is today is for me to wake up and then I've got my jacket on. It's a bit cold in the studio this morning. The winter is starting to bite, quite literally. So, which is great. It's one of my favourite jackets, this. Super dry. So what was I going to do? Yeah, so we're going to be doing a discovery session, and this will be a second discovery on one of the splurges that we had in earlier this week. So we'll be doing something on that, and then but I don't know what, because I haven't made any lists or any ideas or anything like that. So we'll have to do a basic discovery list and a direct listen. So those of you who don't know much about direct listening, I'll take you through that process this morning. So that's the first few things, and then I suppose if the discovery session kind of ends a bit early, then we'll go in and do some splurging. The interesting thing about doing splurges and discovery sessions, and any session really that I do, especially early on in the process, all right, so there are rules, believe it or not. Guidelines, well, no, the rules actually. There are some rules that are like totally like hard with this, and those rules are that really that you when you're making your music, especially in splurge, right, in discovery, it's 100% focus on speed. That's the first thing. And then you literally, there is no judgment about quality, right? You're not thinking about quality whatsoever, not bothered at all. So a good example of this would be, if you're doing, if you're playing guitar, right? You don't want to, and you were doing this, so you don't necessarily want to be doing, in fact, you don't want to be doing your best takes early on in the stage, because those are quality judgments. What you want to be doing is you want to be just splurging these ideas out and just recording parts that are good enough for you to make a judgment on whether you want to take this piece of music forward or not. When you run something like the Automatic Music Machine, like one of the major things with it is all quality judgments are pushed later down the line, okay, when we need them, all right, and that's in release. Okay, when we get to the release section, that's when the quality judgments come in, and that's a really good thing, because in release, when we are making those parts, I wouldn't say perfect, but when we are getting the parts correct to what we want, correct for the music, at that point we are really connecting this music to the outside world. So that's a connecting thing. But we don't need to do that early on, and we don't need to be thinking about connecting something and all of the fear and anxiety that can potentially bring. Because remember, I've talked about fear. Unfortunately, I wasn't. I'll probably have to do that again, actually, because like I couldn't. There was something wrong. The video wouldn't, like the live stream wouldn't stop straight away, so I couldn't upload it. But anyway, like, so we don't want any kind of fear stuff happening early on in the stage, because fear comes from, well, a lot of it's our tribal mentality, isn't it? And as soon as we're kind of presenting something to our tribe, our primitive brains try and put some sort of resistance in the way, because it doesn't want us to get kicked out of the tribe. It doesn't want us to stand out. If we stood out of the tribe back in the day when we needed to be in a tribe, it would mean potentially death. But that's not the case with our music, okay? We just need to not have any fear. So early on in the stage, we're not having any quality judgments, not worried about that. When I think about it, I think about like when I was younger and the process I would go through pre-having really any recording equipment. So, I mean, what I would do is I would have a tape recorder, right? And I would just smash down guitar parts for an idea of a song. And then, I would put them, I would, have a verse and a chorus and maybe a bit and what have you. And then I would take that to the band, and then I'd get the band to like put it all together, and that's how I would do it. And then you'd take that and we would rehearse that tune, get it into some sort of shape. You would try it out at gigs. And in a way, there's sort of like the process of the machine, except we're connecting something straight away then, which isn't kind of what we're doing. But that process of quality, all the time, we're kind of rehearsing this track, making adjustments, all right? And then when it actually comes to the point of connecting it, interestingly enough, you book your band in the studio. And at that point, that's where you sit down, and then it's about, you've got the roadmap of your tune, you know how it's going to go, everybody knows what parts they're doing, and then it's just a question of sitting down and laying out those parts, and whatever inspiration hits, putting that in as well. So when you're doing sort of live instruments, that would be a process that you would use, and the machine would kind of cover you for that. So when you're doing those riffs, you don't have to slave over perfect takes. You just got to have something that's going to be able to not annoy you and be able to, have a judgment. But you don't want to be necessarily going for absolute perfection. Hi Enzo, how you doing? But the other thing is when to know when your session's really ended. So you might be working on, a lot of the time when you come to me for the coaching, I'm always saying, right, we're doing like the time sessions are like very short. They're like 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the front end of this process. And you've got to just try and get your ideas out in that time. What was I going to say? So really, you haven't got any time for quality, because if you start having a quality judgment and you start kind of focusing in on a part, your 10 minutes will go and you'll not have any tune there. And the whole point of the shorter session is to get people working really, really fast, faster than what they can possibly think they can work at. Now, when you're working at speed and you're working under pressure, you get into flow very quickly, because we know that in flow practice, one of the 17 conditions of that, preconditions of flow, is sort of the skill to challenge ratio, and also the time dilation. So there's a couple of things there that will get you straight into flow. But once you start kind of when you know that your session is over, or you've got to quickly wrap it up, one thing is where you start getting sort of really a lot of negative feeling, like, oh, I think I don't really know what to do, then that's the end of the session. Also, if you find yourself moving, removing, or improving, you're not really splurging. All right, you're kind of doing something else if you're doing a lot of that. So again, your session would sort of end there. So that's just some pointers on, the to watch out for early on in the process. But when you're in a coaching group, I take you through all of this, and we have a discussion about it as well. All very good, and all very cheap. So, nearly finished my coffee. Any questions? Feel free to ask about anything. I love a good question. It gives me something to talk about instead of me just like kind of ranting on about whatever I feel like. And obviously, these are the morning sessions. It's like writing, isn't it? But if you want to talk about guitars or anything, then I'm up for that. Right. Let's have a look. I'll just get my Stream Deck working. What's the first thing? I don't know. We'll be on in a minute. Okay, some questions coming in. Let me add a bit bigger. Right, do that again. Right, so I'm buying a new Mac Studio tomorrow. What are the Mac specs you have right now? So the Mac specs I have is an M2 Pro 16-inch, and it has 16 gigs of RAM, but really 32 would be better. Although I haven't completely ran out of RAM, I've got close to it. But apart from that, it's been pretty efficient. I haven't obviously there's the new laptop. I haven't really the gains the gains that I would get on having the extra power aren't quite enough for me to warrant getting a new one. But this one handles all of the music stuff that I'm doing on the stream, and obviously the streaming as well. So it's running the two things. So it's about, you couldn't do it with much less, mind. But it's good enough to get things going. And then also, what strings are you using these days? I'm using D'Addario NYXL. They seem to be my favourite ones. They last forever, and they keep nice and sparkly. I kind of wreck the strings a lot quicker now. I'm doing like a lot of hybrid picking. One TV or two TVs? Right. Okay. So, I have no television in my house. If it's like television that you stand, if you sit and watch, like my living room has nothing in, all bedrooms there's absolutely zero TV. There's no television where you just flick it on, it's on in the background. There's none of that. In this house, we have to make our own entertainment. I have a piano and a violin upstairs, which my daughter plays and keeps us entertained. In the studio, however, I have the laptop screen here, which I find good enough. And how many terabytes? Not TVs. All right. How many terabytes? 2, I think. Hi, Zed. Hi, Sean. Don't feel stupid. I got to talk about television. Like, the thing is, right? It's as I've said earlier, environment, habits, television. Having that on when you're watching it, you're not really doing anything. So I don't kind of like to do it. I don't watch the television like that. the only time I watch television is I do put my daughter did corrupt me, hands up, and I do watch the occasional series. However, what I will say is when I'm watching the series, I practice guitar all the way through it. So I have just completed Breaking Bad over the months, and I must admit, watching Breaking Bad has allowed me to conquer my hybrid picking woes. I now hybrid pick, and it's in my plane, and I feel a lot better now. But it took Netflix for me to, because to do those techniques from the start, you just got to sit and you've got to do an exercise, haven't you, repetitively? So I was doing that, and that's kind of got me going. Economy picking took a couple of series to do. That took all of Black Snow and Kingdom. So I just put them on, in my chill time, which I don't really have any, and then I do the practice, really. You call it practice. Well, I'll tell you what, IBRS. Hi, Kevin. Everybody's on YouTube. There's nobody. I'm streaming on Twitch, and everybody's on YouTube, which is good because it's kind of when I'm on YouTube, really, it's kind of I want everybody to come on here. I like to practice guitar at the same time also, but I have a new puppy and she's not having any of my practicing around her. Just finished, right? Finished breaking, right? Very good. Oh, you're on Twitch. Okay, Pixie. So, Pixie, if you're, when you get a chance, though, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would be great. But I will be still streaming on Twitch. I can't remember what I was saying. Yeah. So, having a new puppy's fine because, again, that could be a time multiplier. It's exercise, isn't it? So when you're walking your dog, you can have thoughts about your music, what you're going to do. It's like kind of time out for thinking. Thank you. So that's one of the things I'm meant to be doing actually is making YouTube shorts. I'm all geared up to do it pretty much. The interesting thing is I found a simple way for me to do it. And, because rather than completely taking the camera over to another part of the room, because I was experimenting, you'll have seen various shorts where I've moved the camera about and set it up in a different place, or I've used my phone, and what a pain in the arse it's been, to be honest. Because what I really wanted, the aim was, the wish list was to have obviously high quality image, to have it vertical, and have direct audio as well. So I wanted all of these things, and yeah, for it to look good, a good angle. So in this room, this is the best angle. It's also I suppose the corporate identity of what I do. God, what an awful word that is. So what I've managed to do is flip that in vertical, just turn the camera slightly, and then you just get the brick wall in the background, which looks good, and then me playing slightly to the side the guitar, and that seems to look good. Plus I've got the direct audio. Now you can do the vertical shooting on Ecamm. So I don't turn the camera on its side. If you turn the camera on your side, then you get much of a longer shot, which is fine. And if I was like really going for that and wanting that super kind of well put together shot, I would do that. But the actual effort of doing that for the gains I would get just in my head weren't enough. So you can flip. The cool thing is, right, I didn't realize this. If you've got Ecamm, you can flip it into a vertical mode, and then it gives you that shot. And all I've got to do is slightly move rotate the camera just on its stand in to crop that shot in, and it's sorted. It's like looks really good, and that is it. And then I'm in vertical mode. Got to switch the logo off, and that's it. And I'm ready to shoot. Direct audio, brilliant. But I mean, to be fair, having like just sort of quick, dirty shots is fine as well. So it's something I'm going to have a look at as well, because I quite like just the ease of, just flicking your camera on and like going for it in the studio. I like that kind of raw side of things. And actually, there's zillions of guitarists, right, who do really well just doing that, don't they? I mean, like Rick Graham doesn't do direct audio; he's just in his room, isn't he? You don't even see him; you just see his hands. So again, we've got to be careful about quality judgments when it comes to doing our other content, which is sort of like, in a way, very new territory for me, but something I'm going to be exploring now. But there's a couple of interesting things on the horizon as well for me, which are going to make a bit of a difference to my music career. But I can't say much. But fear not, either way, I'll be still here streaming. All right. Okay. I waste. Okay. I'll just get this up here. I'll probably switch off. I waste far too much time watching Netflix. God, I'm not quick enough. I watch far too much time watching Netflix with the missus, so we'll definitely utilise POA. I saw yours from moaning about killing you over it, Tim. I need to know, please. How do you stop yours? Well, I just didn't say anything. I was just, right. Okay, so what I do is, and this might be a bit weird, is I watch it on my phone. So like I've never watched a series on my laptop. So I get my phone and I just put it here. And then I get my guitar and I watch my phone and I play the guitar. That's what I do. If she's in the room, what I'll do is I'll just put one of my earbuds in, and then so she can't hear it, and then I'll just watch it. So she probably doesn't. She probably just thinks I'm practicing. That's the first thing. Yeah. And then other times, but like she has caught me, and like, because it was Breaking Bad, she knows about Breaking Bad, and then that's it. Just going, yes, everybody's addicted to Breaking Bad. I've been watching like documentaries on people addicted and how their lives like don't progress and all this kind of thing. So I had the lecture, but luckily I was on the last one. But she was doing the typical thing, right? I was literally 20 minutes from the end of this thing, and she was like on and on and on. No, you got to switch it off. You're addicted. You can't let it go. I'm like, I'm just 20 minutes at the end. Can you just? I was lying in bed about to go to sleep watching the end of it. No, you're addicted. That's it. That's the end game. You're never going to achieve anything now because you're addicted. Absolutely love it. We'll definitely be utilising both of those tactics over from now. So there you go. But it's okay. I mean, quite, I can't remember who they were, but very sort of like famous, brilliant musicians have utilised the technique of watching or reading a book at the same time as doing, doing the thing of mechanical practice. Oh God, practice is a horrible word. She's never watched it. She wouldn't watch anything like that. The other half. I thought you were guys watching together. Have you seen Better Call Saul? No, and I'm not going anywhere near it. Is it any good? No. El Camino is on the list for the weekend to do my practice too. Better Call Saul scurs it. Yeah. It's brilliant. However, because it's practice time, I've got to think about what I'm practicing. And to be fair, what I'm wanting to do is I need to do Like if it just come into practice, rather than watching that, what I need to do is I need to sit with backing tracks in here and practicing doing that and not watching Netflix. Is it? Oh, is it for just Americans? Never mind. But yes, we've got to be mindful. Netflix is addictive, and it takes time away, doesn't it? And I can't, like, if I wasn't practicing guitar, apart from being like entertained, I don't see any massive benefit from watching something for me personally. I mean, if my other half watched TV, then I'd probably have to watch it as a kind of sociable thing. But she doesn't. She's also like basically a machine, probably worse than me in a lot of ways. Her idea of fun, right, is basically reading an academic paper. I tell you what, this house on an evening when we let our hairs down and I'm practicing endless boring 3-note, 4-note exercises and she's reading an academic paper, it is the place to be. It kicks off in here, you wouldn't believe it. Should probably be reading an academic paper on the cognitive damage of watching Breaking Bad does. The adult males. I bet you got Well, you're a lucky guy, Tim. I bet you guys have some mind blowing conversations. Well, we do. There's always that, and there's always like interesting things happening. Like I mean, like one of the things is when she went over to what was it, like Denverish area, and I got like she went there on a research trip, and she was looking at the American military aviation graveyard. That was interesting. And then she went to like the Titan II missile base. I really wanted to go to that. But that was like her research trip there was brilliant. And yeah, she was there. No, she was there for like nearly a month. So she had a whole month. And then she was working in the university there as well. So that was really interesting hearing the stories about the aircraft and stuff, because there's all sorts in there. There's B-52s and other 1950s stuff. And but I've always wanted to buy a Titan II missile base. They're quite reasonable. You can get one for 100,000. A decommissioned one, obviously. But people convert them into homes, or they make them into diving centres. They fill the missile silos with water and flood them, which is really interesting. But you can get an 8-store underground building for $100,000. But obviously, you'd need like probably about 5 million to do the thing up. But there's a like, if you go on like YouTube, there's a few people who kind of got them as homes. I'll tell you another really interesting thing that always blew my mind. Maybe we could do a live group Zoom hangout once a week. That would be fun. I live next to a military base space center as well. I can see all the launchers from my house. Excellent. So academia, yeah, you do stumble across some interesting things. I remember like when I was doing my masters in curating in a gallery which we used to hang around. there was a guy in there, the curator, and he was doing a curating project, which was he was making part of the gallery into an island. So he's legally doing it. And I remember him talking about it, and he was researching people who had made, their own land, their own islands with a constitution, making like a sovereign land. That kind of blew my mind. And the research he was doing was based on, there's the, what's it? If you can look it up on Google. But basically, in England in the 1940s, I will do some music, by the way, but I have to tell you, it's a story. This is the kind of stories I tell. But in Britain in the 1940s, during the war, we had to build various sea forts. That's interesting, isn't it? Because the sea round Britain isn't that deep. It's like 30 feet. So you can actually bed in structures to the sea floor. So there was various things. Now Prodigy had a video, and they had the Munsell Sea Forts, which are like really imposing, and they're still there. So they're in the Thames estuary, and it's like these 5 metal structures. They look like tripods, like tripods or War of the Worlds sort of thing. They look like that, and what they are is the 5 platforms networked together, huge things, and they were gun platforms, so they were to shoot German aeroplanes down as they were coming over to bomb London and catch them like early on. So they're still there, and people back in the sort of like early 60s, people were setting up radio pirate stations on them. So they were going out there and setting up a radio station, which I thought was really interesting. So kind of in a way, a platform of war turns into something that's peaceful. So there's those sea forts. I've always wanted to visit those. But there was another variation of this, of a sea fort and gun platform. And what it was is it's 2 cylindrical tubes that are made out of concrete that go to the seabed. So you've got 2 concrete tubes, and then there's just a platform on top of it. Okay, and then they would have the guns will be mounted on that. And this is another one sort of like round where the Thames are. A retired military naval officer decided to populate one with his family. All right, I think this might have been in the late 60s, 70s. And it's a fascinating story, and there is a documentary. But this is what this curator was interested in, because what he did is he moved his family onto this platform, which is still there, by the way. And they lived in the legs of this platform, and he made his own constitution. He had his own laws. They had their own passports made. Okay, so it was a sovereign land. Okay, he owned his own land, and his family lived there. Completely weird, yeah. But they even had a gun battle. This is like happening in the English Channel. The sea. So they even had they had to fight drug dealers, because drug dealers were wanting it for storage initially back then. So there was an actual gun battle that happened. They weren't injured, and they won. But and there should be a documentary made, but there's stuff on YouTube. There's interviews with them and all kinds of stuff. It's really insane, isn't it? But at the time, it was the Tory government led by Margaret Thatcher, and he was having problem, with the drug dealers on and off. And he actually rang them and said, "Can you?" He rang the government. He got in contact with the government. He was like, "Look, there's trouble out here. Can you come and protect us?" And because he'd had his own constitution, he was no longer a British citizen. They were like, "No, legally you're an island. You deal with it." So he was able to bear arms and not get arrested, because he had his own laws, his own constitution. But anyway, then he died, and his son inherited it. And then what happened was his son actually sold it for something like 60 million to a tech company who have a server on it. Because obviously it's like a super secure place. It's truly incredible. Absolutely love military history side. I remember Pendulum doing a live stream set once on the Sea Forts during the censored pandemic. Well worth a watch. Brilliant. I didn't know that. Love it here. We're strapped here in the States. That's it, Sealand. There you go. It was Sealand. There's our researcher, Graham Gardner. So anyway, this curator then made his own constitution in a gallery, and that was art. Believe it or not. Which it is, because a lot of art is about, challenging traditions, isn't it? And so music should be like that, shouldn't it? Because music is art. But like then everybody's like obsessed with challenging, the ideas and philosophies of what would be the white cube. But I'm not gonna get into it too heavily. Yeah, I mean, my show could easily now change into sort of, a bit of a weird chat show, couldn't it? I could go, right, anybody seen any UFOs? Anybody seen any ghosts? And then we can get on board with that one. But you might find that Butch is procrastinating. It was a song by OMD, right? Right, great, Des. I knew you'd seen both. Now, Des, have you wrote any tunes about the experiences? Obviously, you don't sing. There wouldn't be lyrics, but it would metaphorically be coming across in your musical ideas, no doubt, accurately. Music and conspiracy theories, there are no two more interesting subjects in my opinion. I think you're right there, Peter. Anyway, good to see you, Des. I was wondering where you were the last few days. Speaking of art, have you seen Treasures? Speaking of art, have you seen Treasures of the Wreck of the Unbelievable? No. But that sounds very interesting, Gramps. Yeah, was it me, baby, when I saw my dead granddad? Scary stuff. But yes, this is another. I think I have to save these conversations, UFOs and ghosts, for another day, because I know if we start, it's gonna, we're gonna go down that line, aren't we? I saw a UFO after an audition for a band in 1997. How fascinating. I do want to know more, Des. Yeah, okay, we'll do. I'll save it for when Thomas goes, tell a story. I'm like, hey, who's seen any UFOs? That'll be the end of the show, won't it? We'll just be sat down talking about UFOs. Who's seen a ghost? I've seen a ghost. I think I've seen a ghost. Oh, it's 10 past 6. Shall I tell you the story? I could tell you the story. I'm itching to tell it now. Right, okay then. Didn't take much persuasion. Hold on, have I got enough? Then I'm doing a discovery session, alright? But if we're all alright about that. They can cancel me. This is important. Anyway, I'm talking about a ghost. And I've disguised... Now, they're not going to cancel me because I've disguised the channel as a music channel. Guitar is a motherfucker. Miles Davis, he said that. Jesus. Good. Right. I feel like I've accomplished something. All right. So, right, I'll try and this will be a garbled story. But anyway, I took my family. Actually, it wasn't me. My missus, because I mentioned it. I really wanted to go to Chillingham Castle because I heard it was the most haunted place in the world. Right, so Chillingham Castle is on the border of Northumberland to Scotland, and I think it's around about the 12th century castle, and it was used as a military muster point for going into Scotland and basically fighting battles, right, with the Scottish, unfortunately, because the British and the Scottish weren't getting on very well at the time. But it was it's got a horrendous history of like murder and torture and like all sorts of, they would like torture people endlessly there, like 50 a day apparently, and then they would hang them in the forests and off the castle walls and everything as a deterrent. It was pretty horrific place. But probably due to that, it's got vibes about it, and there's been many documentaries and series and all sorts of stuff done on Chillingham Castle. So, as a Christmas surprise, we had a room booked. So she booked a room, and this will have been about 13 years ago. So off we went to the dairy room in Chillingham Castle. So we went there, went to the castle. It looks like a really scary, proper like Hammer House of Horror, if you remember those days, Des. Kind of scenario at Chillingham. I highly recommend for anybody to stay there, by the way. It's just absolutely brilliant. They're not sponsoring this show. This is just me. I mean, one of the good things about that castle, right, is it's privately owned. So there isn't any kind of English heritage getting involved, coming along and installing a chairlift and elevator to like ruin the vibe of it all. So we stayed in a part of the castle called the dairy room, which technically is an old refrigerator, basically. So they had this like little flat thing converted in there. I think Anna, my daughter, would have only been about 2. She was a baby, yeah. Remember, we don't drink, so totally sober. We're in there. We're in the living room. No big deal. There was the guest book, and they were writing. I was reading through all the stuff that they'd seen, stuff coming out the walls and all this kind of shit, and I was like, yeah, right. But my academic missus did go to the library, into the archives, before we actually came to the castle. So she'd been in the local library, and she'd photocopied some interesting literature on the place. So I was reading this thing, right, about the castle, and it had a section in it where it was talking about, all right, some like spirituous clairvoyants coming into the place, doing an investigation, and they'd made contact with a boy, and then there wasn't anything else written. And I was like, they made contact with a boy, right? Okay, well that's great. What happened? And I was like, Sharon, where's the rest of this? Oh, I must have forgotten to like photocopy the rest. So I was left hanging for the whole holiday there. The one night we were staying, wondering about what happened with this boy in our place where we were staying. All right. So anyway, got tired and it was time to go to bed. Put Anna to sleep in one room. We were in the other room, and basically lying in bed, and I was moving about. I could not rest whatsoever. All right. And this went on, felt like I was in a room around me. It was pitch black there. There's no outside lighting or anything like that. The room was absolutely pitch black. And it felt alive with electricity. it just felt totally alive, even though it was pitch black. There was stuff moving all over the place. That's what it felt like. There was this constant presence of, it was just weird. All right. So I could not, like, I couldn't get to sleep. And eventually I was lying on my back, right? And I opened my eyes, all right? And then in front of me was this neon blue, almost kind of weird torso thing. It was like sort of like a rib cage, but wasn't. It was almost like an alien. It was like, like some kind of bioluminescent fish kind of thing you'd find in the deep sea. But it was hovering over me at about a 45-degree angle, and it was this like dull neon blue, and it was this like slow pulsating thing, and then it had like this green flashes that were whipping out from the back of it, kind of going, you guys are going to think I'm nuts, right? Whipping over my face, right? And I was looking at this thing, and it was weird because I was like frozen to the spot, but then looking at it, and it was quite beautiful in a way. And it was almost like looking at me. It was kind of looking, it felt like it was studying me. This blue neon thing with these green flashes that looked like a torso about this big, hovering over me, pulsating. Anyway, I gave her a nudge, and I went, "Have you seen this?" And then she was just quiet looking at it, and I went, "Can you see this?" And I said, "What colour is it?" And Sharon went, "Blue." I went, "Shit." I was just sitting there looking at this thing. And then I switched the light on, and then there was nothing in the room. Completely disappeared and didn't come back. So I went, "Oh my God, that was terrifying." And I went, "Oh, I need to go for a piss. I need the toilet. How am I going to get to the toilet?" And then so I just remember sprinting to the toilet, sprinting back and jumping in bed, turning the light off and going, "Oh my God, what's going to happen next here?" So anyway, trying to get back to sleep. And then there was a gong at the end of the corridor. And then suddenly there was this big clang. And I thought, fuck me, what's that? And then that was the end of it. All right. There was that clang. And no more. So we woke up, and we did manage to get some sleep. Woke up the next day and then packed and went. And had a little bit tour of the castle, which was great. And the missus told the guy what we saw, and he was like, "Yeah, I believe you." Other people, was probably just patronising us. So anyway, we were pretty freaked out. And Sharon, who doesn't believe in anything like that, who doesn't watch any conspiracy theories, who is an academic and only believes in science and fact, even though it's she's a doctor of philosophy, but it's a scientific model, isn't it? So, she has to have the evidence. But she was like pretty freaked out about what we saw. So then what happened is we got home, and remember, I was reading the bit that she photocopied that she didn't finish, probably because she was then distracted with some other paper or something she was reading, and then probably wasn't academic challenging enough anyway. So what actually happened is I had to go back to the library, and then I found the rest of this thing, right? So I could read about the contact, the clairvoyance, and this boy, okay? Paranormal investigators, something like that. So I'm reading this thing, and I'm in the library, and it says, "We made contact with a boy who apparently had been," the history was he was in there playing, and some dogs he died because some dogs had got in and savaged him, basically. But as they made contact with the boy, guess what happened? A loud metallic clang happened. And to this day, the hairs on my arm are standing up when I think about that. Think about the gong that happened. So I'm reading this thing, and there was a loud metallic. I heard a loud metallic. Well, it was a gong. That's metallic. It's a clang. It describes it in this thing as a loud metallic clang. I'll never forget that. And I was sitting there, and I was thinking, Jesus Christ, that's just mad. So then what happened is my other half, putting her academic head on, she decided to do some research, and the best way to do this, to find out what happens if these things are real or not, would to be to do a public lecture on what we experience. So there's this great old-fashioned library, because it's got to be done in style. It's a proper Harry Potter library in town called the Lytton Phil, next to the Miners' Gala Institute. Sorry. So the Lytton Phil, wonderful library. It's absolutely brilliant. It's one of my favourite places to go, but I just never have time to sit in it. But I've actually wrote tunes in there. Anyway, she booked this presentation which she took for the public to turn up, and she would present on a PowerPoint what actually happened, to then have a discussion with other people. And Ghost Hunters Northeast turned up to this thing, which was hilarious. So some paranormal investigators turned up, and they all had a discussion, and she had floor plans of the room and everything, and then she just draw ghosts on it where we saw this thing, and it was funny as hell. But she did that, but there wasn't anything really conclusive gained from that. And then there's another part to this, but that's going to be part 2, and it's a very short story. But that is my experience of Chillingham Castle. Quite scary. And whatever happened was very real. Absolutely, yeah. I meant to be doing music, but we ended up getting onto this. I've been talking about a few things, actually. Right, okay. So I hope you enjoyed that story. I think I should use it as material to splurge on. Or splurge with, I should say. Well, that's generally insane and so cool. Looking forward to the part 2 story time with Tim. Should be a daily segment. Yeah, I just haven't been in that many situations. I'd have to quit everything and then just start going about England, looking at, not doing this and just doing a live show in a haunted place. Or maybe I could just do what I do here, writing music in somewhere very haunted or dangerous. All right. Screw the music. I love it. I love music. Thank you so much for sharing. There we go. That's cool. Well, I'm glad I've made your day, which is part of the purpose, Saying that. There's an event in the pipeline for me that if it happens, it's going to reactivate me into doing some music, actually. But in doing some projects, I should say. Now a scary splurge, yeah. But this is the thing. So back to splurging and stories. You need one thing that's really good when you don't have an idea, right? Is to just have something that sort of gets you to have an idea of something, like a story or a book chapter, and attaching that to the music that you're hearing. Because then what you can do is you can then relate potentially music concepts to that story. So Zed going to release a Halloween track. Am I going to release one? Probably not, because every year I end up being forced to do at least an album of really shitty Halloween tunes. I always get roped. I've done everything I don't need any practice at Halloween tunes, believe you me. It's gone on for years. Halloween, and I'm really good at squirming out of anything to do with Christmas. I'm so slippery, like writing Christmas tunes. I come up with all kinds of excuses. When it comes to procrastination and avoidance, special days of interest, doing music for that, Halloween tunes, bonfire night, Christmas, I can wiggle out of it. There's no end to it. I don't care. I'm completely the opposite of all of this. There's no way. And if I have to say I'm ill when I'm lying, I will. I'm ill, I'm fair, I've got COVID, I can't go anywhere near the gear or something in case, like, in fact, somebody else who might be using it, not that there is anything. I'll get out of it. But yes, I've done all sorts. I've done sound sculptures, I've done torture chamber surround sound things, I've done funny, scary monsters, I've done, like, weird Halloween music that's like 10 minutes long on a loop for somebody's living area for Halloween. It goes on Halloween with me. I can't even have like Halloween with my family. It's like being ruined. Just coming exhausted from like everybody's mad ideas about what Halloween is. So anyway, so more importantly is if you've got a story, like a story in your head, and you can work out sort of like music to go with that fundamentally. So a good thing to do is find out what the purpose is. So hopefully, we'll have a direct listen to this. So this is a tune. This is a splurge. It hasn't been. Oh God, right. It isn't even structured. But I tell you what we'll do is I'll put this out to the chat. If anybody wants to come up with a story, now it doesn't have to be a written story with a beginning, middle, and an end, and like at least like 3,000 words long. No, that's not what I want. It could literally be a title of a book chapter. Okay, just enough to get something from. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a direct listen through these sections. Now, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to just quickly put them in to here. You're going to have to bear with me. And the other thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to do it so we don't hear it. So we were talking about this in my coaching group yesterday. So you do a splurge, okay, and then it's 8 bars long. What do? All right. Well, why is that not going down there? Right. You're going. Right. Forget all that. Need to grab it by the correct bit. So what you can do is, without listening, you drag your splurge in. And a bit like what I'm doing here is, if it was just 8 bars, you could copy and paste those 8 bars or 4 bars. And then all you do is visually arrange the thing, just switch parts on and off, and you just think about, well, what would the future me want to hear? So, for example, if I was visually arranging this, I'd go, right, well, I want to hear an intro, so I think I'll just have the arpeggio, and then I want to hear the arpeggio and drums, and I want to hear just the drums and the bass maybe. Then I could have everything in for a chorus, then I could mute the drums off, and that would be some sort of a breakdown. So I would kind of go along those sort of lines, but I wouldn't be listening to any of this. I would just simply be visually arranging it, all right? Because all I'm doing is I'm wanting to listen to it at a later date, preferably if you're sticking to the rules, 7 days, 3 days minimum. So I've got 3 sort of different sections here that I've splurged. So all I'm doing is I'm putting the 3 sections in here. And we're going to direct listen to them. Sorry, 4 sections. So hopefully I'll have all of the parts in. Here's a 3rd section. So last time we did anything with this was 3 days ago. So I'm loosely sticking to the rules. Oh, was it? Actually, this is its second discovery session, isn't it? So there has been some discovery done on this, if I remember rightly. Right, I can't remember where that went. Right. What was that on? Audio. So yes, I remember now. This was a discovery session, wasn't it? Interesting. So I remember doing this as a splurge, which wasn't on a stream. This was just name that. What's the vape loop? What I'd done is I'd been making presets in Exo Drums. You see, Exo Drums is one really good advantage of this is if I can't be asked to like boot up Ableton Live, which is very rare, I must admit, I can just get Exo up on its own, and I just make little drum patterns if I'm bored, and then I can save them. And then what I'll do is I'll just pull one of those drum patterns up and then start writing to it. So it's really good for that. And of course, like when you do all of that, because I've got an Exo drum template, everything's mapped to individual outputs and all that kind of thing. So it's like super compatible with my template and everything's kind of there and mixed and ready to go. Yet outside of Ableton Live, I can have some fun just kind of making some drum parts and messing about with this, you know. It's like a fun thing for me to do. You know, it could be a computer game. I think of this like a computer game. I haven't got the pressure of necessarily creating anything, but I can just have some fun of playing with some drums. And another really cool thing as I like is obviously this search engine. So I can go on Splice, right, and download a whole drum pack. And then what I like to do is I'll select none. I'll go to like the drum pack that I'm interested in, select just that, and then basically when you go to space, just that drum pack is like visible. And then you can go a little bit further with that because you can then just go, I want kicks. That'll just isolate all the kicks, snares, and like honestly, that is the fastest you could possibly ever kind of surf a sound library. It's like incredibly quick, and I absolutely love it for that. So, I'll just check the chat. So Gramps hitchhiked across Canada and made love to a girl with the snakes in a lake. All right, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Let's bear that in mind. So I'll tell you what, we're jumping the gun here a little bit. Sorry, Gramps. It's got a bit of a cowboy thing to it, hasn't it? The hitchhiking, and the lake and the snake. But we're going to have a direct listen now, right? So direct listening is a way of listening to a piece of music with, you've guessed it, not being without any judgmental thoughts. Very difficult to do when you basically have made the music yourself. Yeah. When we're listening to our own music, God, the judgment's there, isn't it? We're thinking like all kinds of stuff. Now, the idea is, you know, I could play this, and if I was just left to my own untrained self, I would then focus in on, let's just say, the kick drum, because I always like the kick drum cost me so much time, right? I would immediately play the track, and I would only be listening to the kick drum and planning what I could do to make the kick drum better, right? So I'm not actually, all of this music is passing me by, like, you know, 90% of the track I'm not even listening to, and I'm not really even listening to the kick drum, to be fair. All I'm doing is listening to my own thoughts, planning what I'm going to do to the kick drum. So I'm not therefore taking in any information whatsoever that's going on. All right, there's just nothing there. The track's going past, I've missed it. So direct listening, okay, comes from, I suppose, direct experience, which is the psychological term, I think. And all that means is we're trying to be focused on what is actually there outside of our bodies, what exists, right? And any sort of the negative narrative circuitry, the storytelling that our brains tell us, we ignore. So direct listening, in a way, is for me very similar to meditation. You know, when you meditate, when I do my 5 minutes meditation, ultimately I am focusing in on my breathing. That's what I'm trying to do. You're training your mind to focus in on one thing. However, distracting thoughts kind of appear in your head, jobs that you're meant to be doing, or things that you need to do, or whatever, conversations you've had with people. And what we can do is we can end up getting on board with these thoughts, can't we? We start like then exploring them instead of doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is focusing on one thing, our breathing. So this is very similar. Instead of like focusing on our breathing, all right, what we're doing is we're focusing our minds only on the music without having any thought. We're just trying to let things get in, be absorbed. And you'd be amazed at how many really professional musicians struggle with listening. You know, listening is an art, really. And I think certainly till I actually came back to direct listening, the art of listening for me was all but lost. You know, I used to be, as a child, have the attention span to listen to a double album in a darkened room, no bother. And just enjoy listening to that music. And I mentioned this many times on the stream. You know, I could sit and I could listen to a piece of music and enjoy the musical journey that I was going on. I was obsessed with that. But you know, modern life, mobile phones, distractions upon distractions. You end up just looking for distractions, and the attention span's a lot shorter, which is very, very sad. So as a sort of pushback to that, we have like direct listening. So in other words, we're going to listen to this piece of music, and I'll just let it rotate a few times. I'll give us 5 minutes for our direct listening, which is what I tend to give in a coaching group. And all we're going to do is we're just going to listen to it. We're not going to be judgmental. And then we could, you know, one of you can think of somebody can think, well, you can all think of stories, all right? And then we'll pick one. How about that? There we go, 5 minutes. And we're off. Okay, I'm done listening to that. Let's get Trello up. So, that's not one in it. Actually, that's already had a discovery session. So take that off. Right. So we can have so a story I'm thinking of, but feel free to chip in with some stories here. Or purpose is I'm thinking of a Palm Tree Island car race. A bit like 80s game Outrun, if anybody remembers that. So I've got some imagery, but what happens? I'm not sure. What could happen in our story on a Palm Tree Island car race? Well, we can have good versus evil. So we could have not God versus good, evil. I don't play guitar, but I found my favorite. Who's your right? Hi, Michael. Excellent. So, who's your favorite guitarist? Steve Vai is amazing, brilliant. He's exceptionally good. So, Michael, I take it. Have you subscribed to the Twitch channel? If so, brilliant. Also, if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, that would be amazing, because obviously, like, this stream happens 4 times a week, and it'd be great to see more of you on here. So if you can subscribe to both Twitch and YouTube, that would be really good. Right, so I need some contrast. Let's have a look. Right, what key are we in? What's the next thing? That's in Lydian. B minor. Okay. Let's have a look at B minor then. So I think what I need is some sort of contrasting thing going on. So I know I'll do it here actually for a change. So let's get that vocal. And we'll have a look at the pad. Find some inspiration. Let's get that away. Street Fighter, yeah. Diva. Yes, that Ego Death song's amazing. Oh, right. Right. Yeah, it's a great synth diva, Peter. It's I really like using it. Yeah, he's in the castle. Blue thing is following. That's a good one. Yeah, just the rest of the track's too jolly, isn't it? But I like the idea of some sort of extraterrestrial thing happening. Um, so that's quite good. That Gramps, I like it. Watched by hovering aliens. Okay. Right. So we need watching hovering alien sound. That should be easy to do. Right, yeah. Noise. Uh, These are all definitely hovering. You can have that. No, that's definitely the best one. Yeah, we'll go with that. Or it could be a haunted island race. That even better. That gets us there, doesn't it? Oh, it's very John Carpenter now. So that's pretty good for a section, I think. Let's get that in. I think the thing though, noise huts. Nah, it doesn't work. That's not what I was wanting. Tell you what. Just as a wild card. There might be a loop. Right, that's close. There we go. I'm happy. Right. Just need to get all of this in here. Goes. Right, and now we've got some sections. Okay. And there we have a second discovery cycle session done on here. When I push save, it seems to just want to change the screen. There we go. I'll do it here. Right, saved. And we'll bounce that out. So what's going on here? He's in a castle. Blue thing is following. Yeah. I am going to do that as an idea though, Grams. That's going to be, we're going to splurge on that idea. Chase around the castle. I'll put it here. Ghost thing. All right, there we go. Brilliant. I'm going to put that up at the top. Right, it's in there. Right, let's have a look at the chart. So, no, thanks for the input there. Grams, can you stretch the tick-tick so it sounds like you're tearing open a packet of sugar? Yes, you can. We could go into some like wild time stretching thing. We could do that. However, if I was to do that in a short session, this is a great example. So, because that's going to sound great, right? That'll sound good and stuff, and it's like a cool effect. The only thing is when we're at the very sort of this part of the process, that is a sound where that's one of those things where it's like a huge effort for probably in terms of where we are in the creative process for less impact. But something we can do later on as like an effect without a doubt, because I can hear that what you're saying, sort of like breaking down, going into the next section of the song, that kind of slowing down, tearing rhythmic thing. So I definitely hear that, which is a great suggestion, Gramps. However, in terms of our workflow, I don't like the workflow term, but anyway, it's workflow, isn't it? We could spend a lot of time doing that where we can do bigger moves elsewhere. So the big move for this is actually creating another contrasting section. So we've got lots of options here. This song is in no way arranged in terms of its purpose. That's something we're going to have to do in draft, where we're going to be looking at how we can get the maximum amount of tension and release, and how we can achieve our overall purpose, our punchline. Because it's quite hooky, this song, but it's like, which is the chorus, which isn't the chorus. It's an interesting problem that we're going to have to solve with this, which we will probably do Monday or Tuesday, or maybe we could do probably 2 discovery sessions. Well, 1 drafting and a discovery would be good, and a splurge. So I'm going to start ramping things up a little bit on the mornings for me, where I'll do a splurge as well as the other things, and we'll have to be time sessions, head down, doing the work really. Oh, I hate the word work as well. Making music, that's better, isn't it? I don't do music to work. So I hope everybody's enjoyed the stream today. It's been great as always having you on. It's great chatting. I really enjoy it, and it's good that I actually got something to do. But you know, I'm fairly chilled at the minute, so that's all good. So there's no stream from me and Thomas on Saturday. However, next Saturday, I believe we will be scheduled. It's like usually once a fortnight now. So we'll be back to that in our 80s living room, shredding so I'll have to get back into training to do that. And then next month in November, I'm going to do a month where on Wednesdays I'll do Wednesday evening I'm going to do a live stream, and it's going to be more about I'm not going to say performance, but I'll not be doing what I usually do in the morning, but I will be sitting with a guitar for the whole time playing. So that's what's to look forward to next month. And then I'm hoping by doing that, maybe I can get some video footage of me shredding that I can use on other social media platforms. So that would be good as well. We have a new comment. Hi there, how are you doing, Algeria? Thank you, Michael. It's been great having you on. Anybody who isn't subscribed to the YouTube channel, if you could push that subscribe button, that would be amazing. And if you're not subscribed to the if you're not following Twitch, do follow on Twitch. It's only a click, and it's absolutely free. I don't put my videos behind any kind of paywall or anything, so they're just there. And if I say something that's interesting or something you'd like to try out, just make a note of it, and then you can come back to it. Also, these morning sessions, although the heavy lift of my music making is made in these morning sessions, so sometimes I do ignore you and do the music. However, do consider this channel as a resource for yourselves. So everybody who's making music or playing guitar, all you have to do is ask a question. Or if you want to be coached, I can do non-directive coaching. It's very short. It's not the most thorough form of coaching, but I can attempt to do it on this channel. So if you're stuck on anything, I can help you to get yourself unstuck by asking you questions, providing you're talking to me in the chat. Otherwise, I can't, because then I can't mind read. I know I've been talking about ghosts today, but I haven't got ESP. I haven't got telepathy powers. So asking questions, using this channel as a resource for your own creativity, I think is really super important. It's something that I'm giving for free. Amazing. And could save you a lot of time. The other thing is I am a music coach, and I do have some music coaching groups. So if you're interested in coaching, although the groups are pretty full at the minute, I do have I'm down to one space at the minute. So I do have a space in a morning group. If somebody would be interested in taking that on, that would be brilliant. You can, if you're interested, my email is in the description on both Twitch and YouTube. Get in contact with me. It's $200. We meet up once a week for 2 hours, and you make lots of music, and I take you through the process from beginning to end and to release. So basically, you'd have me as a coach for as long as it takes. $200 a month, 2 hours a week, and I will coach you till you get your music and your musical dreams fulfilled. There you go. So you'd have somebody doing the walk with you. What an amazing thing that would be, and something which would have helped me, at the beginning of my career. Because the stuff you learn is all the stuff that they don't teach you in school or in university or in college or on a master's program. And I'm guessing there's definitely not going to be a hint of that if you're doing a PhD. So there we go. It's all cool. So I'll see you all Monday morning, bright and early. Have a good weekend. Bye.